Hi, I'm Christine Hassler, and what you're about to see is a live life coaching episode. For over a decade, I've been a master coach, best-selling author, and speaker, helping people free themselves from their past, change their present, and get what they really want. For more information, you can go to christinehassler.com and take my life coaching assessment and identify any obstacles that are in your way to really reaching your fullest potential. You can also listen to more episodes of my coaching podcast on iTunes. Just search for Over It and On With It. Enjoy the episode. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode. Today I'm joined by Melissa, and we talk about self-care and how to fill our own cup. Melissa, at around the age of 40, is coming out of her second marriage and is embarking being on her own, even though we're never really on our own, for the first time in her life. And she's aware that in the past she's had some codependent patterns. She's had some unhealthy ways of relating to the world, and now she is starting to really see and understand that the relationship she needs to prioritize is the relationship with herself. But the question is, how? How do you do that after you've spent your whole entire adult life in relationship? How do you navigate from being in that to really finding your own healthy relationship with yourself? As you're watching or listening to this coaching session with Melissa, consider, would you say that you have some codependent patterns, like being on your own, really navigating the world, not in relationship, not looking to other people for approval, validation? That's hard for you. Would you say you're someone that sources your safety, your security, your sense of worth, your love from people outside of you? Are you currently going through a divorce or separation and navigating the waters of being on your own, of not being in a relationship, are a little rough for you? Are you massively hard on yourself? Is it hard for you to forgive choices that you've made in the past? Are there decisions in your life that you've made that you regret? And even though intellectually you know you were doing your best at the time, it's really hard for you to forgive yourself for it. And finally, do you really understand what self-care is? When it comes to filling your own cup, do you think you have to do that all on your own? Or can other people actually help? How do you let other people in but not be codependent? So keep these questions in mind as you watch or listen to my coaching session with Melissa. Melissa, welcome to the show. How can I help?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I do have a question. I am looking for some guidance along the lines of filling my own cup,
Okay.
trying to stop my need for needing other people or other things to validate me or complete me.
Mm-hmm. Great awareness.
Thank you.
Really awesome awareness. So you're probably farther along with this than you give yourself credit for. Because a lot of people don't even realize that's happening.
Okay.
They keep looking for something or someone to fill their cup. So awesome. Okay. So let me ask you this. What do you get from other people filling your cup? Why does it feel good?
Reassurance,
Mm-hmm.
I think. Also, I don't know, having somebody to kind of bounce ideas off of. And then also just, being bored and I guess feeling like needing somebody to hang out with.
Mm-hmm. So oftentimes what can stop us from making the shifts that we know based on like our own personal growth awareness and our own evolution is good. Like some part of you knows I have to fill my own cup.
Right.
I have to stop looking to other people to fill my cup. But sometimes, and this can be unconscious, sometimes what makes it hard is there's a part of us that's like, but I like other people loving me.
Right.
And I like other people, making me feel good. And I like other people filling my cup. And so we don't have to go to extremes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go from looking to other people to fill your cup to, you got to do it all on your own.
Right.
And even though you know that rationally, sometimes what makes incorporating these changes difficult is because you think you're going to have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I hate that expression, but you know what I mean by that, right? Does that make sense to you?
It does.
So I want you to know that you can still have people in your life that love you up, and you're allowed to have that feel good. That just can't be the whole way you fill your cup.
Right.
They can put drops in, but like you said, you've got to fill it up mostly for you.
Right.
So I just wanted to address that first.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
Okay, so take a deep breath. One in letting go of some nerves. That wasn't a very deep breath. Take another deep breath. Really. just know, like, even in this moment, you don't have to do this on your own. You're not responsible entirely for how this session goes. I'm here to help you.
Great.
And so right now we're starting to form a healthy dynamic of interdependence. Because it sounds to me like you know a little bit of codependence.
A lot of that.
Right?
Yes.
And now you're trying to go all the way to independence, but that can produce a lot of fear if you think you're going to have to do everything on your own.
Right.
So you don't. You're still allowed to have people help you and serve you. It's just about creating a more healthy relationship to that. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. So why is it hard for you to fill your own cup, in your words? Why? We'll call it self-care.
Self-care. Okay. So I have been basically married my entire life.
What does that mean? You've been married since you were born?
Since I was 18.
18. Okay.
So first husband for 10 years, together for 12.
Okay.
Basically that marriage ended, rolled right into another relationship.
Okay.
And have been married for like 9.5 years.
Okay.
That relationship is expiring.
Okay.
And so now I find myself, I've never really been alone to make decisions by myself. So even though like I know what I need to do, I always feel like I still need that other person that I've always bounced ideas off of.
Well, it sounds like you've never really individuated.
Right.
And you've always had, so you're learning a whole new way of navigating the world.
Exactly.
Which is exciting.
It is.
So if you, do you speak Japanese?
No.
If you wanted to learn, would you expect to be fluent in like a year?
No.
No, not at all. Why?
It takes practice.
And there's a natural learning process.
Right.
There's a lot, you've been speaking English your whole life, and you're about to learn a whole new language. There's going to be a learning process to that. So where I keep going with my coaching of you is to, because I feel like there's this massive pressure you're putting on yourself to fill your own cup.
Right.
Like, you know, this is like one of your issues. And so you're putting this massive, like, I've got to like be personal growth A+ student and fill my own cup. And like, I see my issue or I got to deal with it. And I'm not, and you're going to scare yourself from dealing with it.
Yes, very much.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there's this fear of, well, I got to do everything on my own and I got to do it really quickly. And I've been, you know, codependent my whole life. And so I'm just trying to normalize it for you a little bit and lighten it up for you.
Okay.
A little bit.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think one of the ways you don't fill your cup is you tend to be a little critical of yourself and a little hard on yourself and have high expectations of yourself. So if there can be a lightness in how you are with yourself, because really what's paramount to your self-care here is you're navigating how to have a relationship with yourself.
Right.
You're navigating how to be a partner with yourself. Which is kind of a whole new world, because if you had really healthy partnerships and if you really had a way of doing that, your marriages wouldn't be expiring.
Right.
So you've learned a lot what doesn't work in partnership. So let's just use your marriages as a mirror here. What didn't work in the partnership dynamic?
So like now, you know, I guess, what is that? Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
I definitely know that I think taking more responsibility for myself and not allowing or not feeling like I needed my husband to solve issues or take care of things.
So would you say trusting your intuition? Would you say?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things that didn't work is looking outside of you for answers and not trusting your intuition. Okay?
Right.
What else didn't work in the partnership dynamic? Like, how were you with each other that didn't work?
Some second marriage, we were just very much friends, like a great friendship. So that worked great, but there was, I feel like so much more was missing once the trust was broken.
Okay. So there's lack of trust?
Yes.
Okay. And when there wasn't trust between you, then what happened?
I definitely pulled back.
Okay.
So I started to protect myself.
Okay, so when there's lack of trust, there's a shutdown. Okay. What else didn't work in either the second or the first marriage in the dynamic?
First marriage, I was just way too young.
Okay.
So I think that I dove into something just because I was trying to prove a point. But so yeah, I think that even then, though my gut was telling me it was a bad idea, but I was just kind of set in my ways to make those decisions.
So going against your gut didn't work?
Right.
Okay. And then in terms of how you were with your husbands or how they were with you, like what else didn't work? Like, were you ever critical of each other? Was there any blame ever? Was there putting yourself last? Like, tell me some other things that didn't work.
So, first marriage, he was very physically and mentally abusive.
Okay.
So, learned a lot through that one. Second marriage, basically, I think that I put myself on the back burner, and I was trying to please, my children and family and make sure everything just like was smooth sailing. And so definitely focusing on everybody else.
Well, and probably also keep yourself safe.
Right.
If you were coming from a marriage in which you were physically and mentally abused, you probably had to develop a way to keep yourself physically and mentally safe.
Right.
And maybe part of the way of doing that was becoming a people pleaser.
Yeah, that's true.
So do you have any judgment on being married most of your adult life? Like, do you have a I should have been single story at all?
Yeah, very much.
Okay, so can we drop that today?
I would love to.
Because here's why. We all attract into our life the circumstances that are going to push us to growth the most. If you hadn't had these marriages at the age you did, and you hadn't married the exact people you did, you wouldn't have reached this point in your growth and evolution. You needed this exact setup to be where you are today. Had you been single, you could have ignored a lot. You could have gotten off course. Like, who knows? You're supposed to be single now, because now you'll do the work. Do you see that?
I do.
Do you see that you had to have these marriages to get to this point?
As difficult as it is to accept that, yes.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be more difficult to judge it for the rest of your life, because then you're never going to be able to get to the growth edge that you want.
Right.
Okay. First law of spiritual development is acceptance. If we don't truly accept where we've been and what is, then it's hard to transform anything.
Right.
Because it's like you're walking forward with chains. Like, you're moving forward, but you're still chained to your past through judgment. So that's going to be a really important thing for you to let go.
Okay.
And to really go, you know what? Had I been single those years, I would have just whatever, kind of floated around for a while. Would have married the wrong person. How old are you now?
Gonna be 40.
Okay, I would have married the wrong person at 40.
Right.
And then gone through divorce at 60, and then maybe done this at 65. And it's never too late for development for anyone in their 60s that's watching, but I'm just saying for you, I'm just giving you a different frame of reference.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? So, can you accept today that you had to be married?
Yes.
And that you weren't supposed to be single for the first 2 decades of your adult life? And can you see and be grateful that now is the time that you are? And let go of the judgment?
Absolutely.
Okay. And by doing that, do you see this as self-care? How so?
I think that it just gives me the opportunity to focus on me.
Yeah. Letting go of judgment of yourself and your life and your life choices is part of how you fill your cup.
I didn't think of it like that, but yeah.
It is. It is. Because when we judge our choices too, we carry around shame. And no matter how much self-care and self-love and bubble baths and affirmations and all that stuff we put into a cup, if there's shame, it's like there's a hole in the bottom of it. If there's shame about our choices that we've made so far.
Yeah.
That you really were doing the best you could at the time with all your choices. Yes, hindsight's 20/20, but you can't use hindsight to go and beat yourself up.
Right. That's true. It's hard to not go down that road, but yeah.
Why is it hard?
I think just looking back on just the choices, looking back on the choices that I've made and the outcomes, and I had signs then that I should have followed and I ignored them. And so I think really just trying to make sure now this time around that I'm not ignoring, my intuition.
Yes.
And that I'm listening.
Yes. And at the time you weren't ready.
Right.
Again, you're using hindsight.
Yes, I know.
You're taking the strength and the awareness that you have now and trying to go back and apply it at a time in your life when you didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair. Again, using the Japanese analogy, it's like eventually being fluent and then going back to when you were just first learning and going, gosh, why couldn't you pronounce anything?
Very true.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So in filling your cup, from my point of view, this is key. This is essential, is acceptance of your choices, forgiveness of yourself, and watching your inner judge. Because you've got a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda running.
Oh, yes.
And now you're shitting all over yourself to fill your cup and be good at personal development because you fucked up your life so far, so you better get good at it now.
Right. Yeah.
Melissa. It's not so nice.
I know. Yeah.
So, you've had a lot of experience in what doesn't work in a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
You've shared some of those things with me. What kind of partner do you want to be to yourself? What kind of inner marriage do you want to have and create? What kind of commitments do you want to make to yourself in terms of how you want to show up for yourself?
I think most importantly, it's just taking care of myself, listening to my intuition, putting myself first and making choices and decisions that better me and aren't for, my children or my family. I don't know, just supportive to myself.
The biggest thing,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to sound like a big broken record, but the biggest thing is self-acceptance and forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be really hard to make those kind of supportive choices if a part of you is still judging yourself for what you've done so far.
Yeah.
You'll keep punishing yourself. If you don't forgive and accept and see that everything that you've chosen in your life up until this point, if you don't stop judging yourself for having the scarlet letter on your chest because you've had 2 divorces, so what? You've got to let go of that. If that doesn't go, you're going to unconsciously keep punishing yourself and not give yourself the love that you need and deserve from yourself.
Right.
Can you see that?
I do, yeah. I find like I'm having a hard time not rushing into another relationship.
Right.
So that's because that's been my pattern. That's what I've always done. So really just trying to focus on just being enough by myself.
Right. Well, you are enough. And you're never by yourself.
Right.
You're just not in a relationship.
Right. True.
So, okay, that's a good awareness to have. Mm-hmm. And I know that I had that awareness a few years after my divorce when I was kind of rebounding and dating, and I was like, all right, like I wouldn't want to date me right now. So how do I really become a good partner to myself? Mm-hmm. And I just made a conscious decision. I'm not dating. I got off all the online sites and I said to God, I said to the universe, I'm honoring my commitment to myself. Please block me right now. Which is a scary statement to make.
Right.
But and I kind of meant it, but kind of didn't. So I added in for the highest good. But if someone really great comes, but the universe got my intention.
Right.
My higher self and the universe and my conscious mind got in alignment and said, all right, we're going to focus on you. Mm-hmm. And so if that's really true for you, if you really know that right now the most self-honoring choice you can make is to not be in a relationship, then put some boundaries around that, Melissa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's hard, but yes.
Okay, so you said it's hard a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
What's the payoff in continuing to reinforce hard things?
Misery. There is no payoff. It's just...
What gives you cop-out?
Yeah, absolutely. It does.
Gives you cop-out.
Yeah.
So would you ever want... Okay, so do you want to be married again eventually? Or in a relationship again?
Always sometime. I'm
Okay.
not sure.
So tell me how it would feel if the man you were, assuming you want to be with a man again, okay, the man in your life would come to you and let's say the relationship reached a point where you reached a growth edge in the relationship, and both of you needed to work on some things, and there was a lot of love there, okay? And he said he was committed to the relationship, but he said, I can try to do that, but it's just hard. How would that make you feel?
Shitty. Yeah.
How worthy do you think you'd feel? How loved do you think you'd feel in that moment?
Not at all.
So every time I say to you to do something for yourself, and you tell me it's hard, there's a part of you that goes, oh, I guess she's not willing to fight for me.
Good point. Yeah.
So this is all, you know how to be a partner. You've had that dance. You know what works, you know what doesn't. And this is all about turning all of that onto you. I get that you're really good at loving others as a mother and a partner. So you have the ability. But the self-worth needs to open up so that you can receive all that love. And that probably will require taking yourself off the market for a while, because you've got this codependent pattern is running.
Right.
And if somebody else comes in, it's just same issue, different face.
Right, exactly.
No matter how different it feels. Not forever, but for now.
Yeah. It's a great idea.
Yeah. So what's the biggest block to you really filling your own cup?
Myself.
Right, but specifically what? I've asked you before, it's the same answer.
Just forgiveness of my choices and being able to let those go.
Right, your own self-judgment.
Right.
Your own, because the whole like it's hard thing also tells me you don't believe you can do it.
Part of me, because I've never done it. I've never taken the opportunity to.
But could you relate to it? Like, if you study Japanese enough, do you think you could eventually learn if you were committed to it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So why does this have to be different?
It doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all about your come from. But because you've had a lot of relationships that failed, because you have abuse in your past, we didn't even get to your childhood. I'm sure there's stuff there. There's a self-worth component to all this. And so that's why sometimes it's hard to believe that you can do it, because you don't really believe in yourself.
Right.
So what you do is you start to take baby steps. And you start to encourage yourself, and you start to acknowledge yourself, and you start to really look at how far you've come. And you start to really reinforce that self-belief. And the biggest thing is you don't break your word with yourself.
I'm bad at that.
In the past,
Yes.
you haven't been great with it because you really haven't loved and accepted yourself, and you've been in a pattern of punishment. But moving forward, you can become really good at that with some intention.
Absolutely.
So what are you feeling right now?
I think that it's like I know all of this. Like there's that part of me that I know, and I knew what you were going to tell me. Like I know inside what it is, but it's just I think just accepting it and realizing that I just actually have to put the work in, and as hard as it seems, just forgive myself for those choices.
And what's something you heard or got today that you didn't know?
That I'm stuck based on my own judgment of myself.
Were you aware that you've been punishing yourself unconsciously?
No.
Yeah. Because if you relate to even this session as, oh, I already knew all this, then it just, again, reinforces like, I know and I'm not doing, and
Right.
I'm flunking.
Right.
So even the way you reiterated to me what you experienced here, again, is that pattern.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
I can. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, I didn't realize it was that bad.
Yeah, well, most of our patterns,
Right.
they're patterns for a reason.
Right,
And
right.
they protected us, so they're really, really rooted in it.
Yeah.
So it really does take kind of stretching our awareness
Mm-hmm.
and really taking time to think and reflect and see things from a different perspective,
Okay.
and let the aha moment sink in.
Mm-hmm.
So like really let that sink in, the punishment thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in your own words, tell me how you've been doing that.
I even just making the same choices. I think it's easy to make those choices because I've already made them. And it's kind of like I've come to expect that of myself. So it's just easy to walk down that road because that's where I'm used to going.
Right. Right. It already feels bad enough. I already know it. So
Right.
slap on some more pain.
Yeah.
So moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
how can you work with this?
I think really just spending some time with it and letting it go. And when it starts to creep up, and just, I guess, just acknowledge it and make the opposite choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really just wake up every day and say, how can I be a loving partner to myself today? And in every choice and every action and everything that you say, just observe yourself and be like, would I want a partner to talk to me like that? Would I want to talk that way to a partner?
Right.
Would I want to feel this way? Would I want to have that thought about someone I loved? No? Okay. How would I want to feel? What would I want to say? What feels better?
Mm-hmm.
And you just make those little shifts. And little shifts create big shifts over time.
Right. Sounds easy.
Okay. And then the other kind of action step, I like that, sounds easy. That's much better than it's hard. Sounds doable.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Sounds doable.
It does.
I wouldn't say learning Japanese is easy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's doable.
Right.
And the more I relate to it is, oh, it's so hard. I'm never going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
The harder it's going to be. Okay, so that's one step. And then the other part is boundaries. So boundaries around dating life, and there might be boundaries too around how often you're showing up for other people and putting yourself last on your priority list.
Mm-hmm.
So other than taking yourself off the market in relationship, is there anything you need to do in terms of putting boundaries in place?
I think just boundaries with family and my children. They're older, so
Yeah.
they can definitely fend for themselves more than they do, and even just work and friendships. So there's a lot of boundaries that I should put in place.
So that's one of your homework assignments.
Okay.
Boundaries that you're going to put in place. Things you're going to start asking for, things you're going to start saying no to, relationships that need to shift. And it's not like you need to do it all tomorrow. You need to make the list,
Okay.
but then over time start putting these in place. And then the other thing is to write out what a loving partnership relationship looks like inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
Get a good picture of that
Okay.
and use that as a reference point.
Okay.
How do you feel?
Excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Relieved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you feel like even having this conversation gave you a little bit of volume in your self-care cup?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the main reason was because
Of my judgment of myself.
yes, because you stopped judging yourself so much
Yes.
and you're relating to yourself with more lightness
Mm-hmm.
and more self-acceptance.
Yeah.
We do not have to judge ourselves to death to grow.
Right. Yes.
We do not have to analyze ourselves and beat ourselves up and regret our choices to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I think another reason you're running the punishment pattern is because you're so scared of making the same choices.
Mm-hmm.
The other way to do that doesn't require you punishing yourself, beating yourself up, and reminding yourself of your pain over and over and over again is just to become a really loving partner to yourself. Because then guess what? You won't even draw in those opportunities to even make those choices.
That's good. That would be nice.
It's the way it works.
Yeah.
Those kind of situations won't even show up.
Mm.
They may at first, when you're learning, to give you the opportunity to say no,
Right.
to help you integrate.
Boundaries.
Yes, but when you shift this and you really get to that place of self-love and self-acceptance and forgiveness and seeing every choice you made as an exact perfect choice at the time,
Mm-hmm.
the more you shift your vibration and the more those kinds of things won't even show up.
Okay. I'm excited for that. Yeah.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you to have this relationship with you, to really discover who you are as an interdependent being.
Yes.
Not codependent, not totally on your own, but interdependent.
I like that.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my work with Melissa today was a little different. If you've watched the show before, you've seen me go back to old childhood issues to connect the dots for people to really help them move forward. But I got the sense Melissa had done a lot of that work. There was a lot of that awareness, and there was a different approach we could have to this. And really having her step into and get a picture of what a healthy relationship inside herself would look like. As you heard, she spent pretty much her whole entire adult life married, and she had children. So she didn't really have time for self-reflection. She didn't really have time to work on herself. And now, what's so wonderful at the young age of 40, she has her whole life ahead of her, is she has this opportunity to really work on herself. The problem she was running into is, yeah, she's got this great opportunity, but there's a massive self-judgment on top of it. And we don't want to be in a relationship with ourselves if we're nasty to ourselves. Like, I don't want to spend a lot of time focusing on myself and thinking about myself. If I've got a harsh inner critic and if I'm regretting my choices, I'm going to go want to focus on somebody else. So of course she's going to want to go jump into another relationship and perpetuate the pattern of codependence if she doesn't like what's going on inside of here. She's going to want a natural distraction. So really the work for her and the massive opportunity is for her to come home inside herself, to have a healthy relationship inside, and that begins with radical self-acceptance for all of her choices, and looking at the ways where she reinforces limiting beliefs and tells herself it's hard, or tells herself she only knows one way, or beats herself up for her choices. That's why I gave her that assignment to write out what a healthy partnership looks like. That's part of what her self-discovery is going to be about like, what is a healthy relationship? What does a healthy partnership look like? And the more that she can have that inside herself, the more likely she is to attract it. She said, one of her fears is that she's going to make the wrong choice again, which is why she holds on to the judgment. Because a lot of times we think if we hold on to the old pain and hold on to the judgment, it'll prevent us from making that choice again. If I hold on to my pain and my judgment about being with someone who abused me, then I won't choose that kind of person again. And maybe in her second relationship, she didn't choose someone that mentally and physically abused her, but there was still a lack of connection, a lack of feeling safe. So holding on to judgment doesn't protect you from making quote-unquote bad choices. It actually really only kind of attracts the opportunity to make those kind of choices again, because you're still running the energetic of that choice. So the best way to shift it is to vibe out of it, basically. So the more Melissa creates a healthy partnership inside herself, the less likely she is to even draw in the kind of relationships where she'd make those type of choices in the past again. One other thing I want to talk about is when we're making the shift out of codependence, sometimes the unconscious fear that comes up is, oh my gosh, I have to do it all on my own. And what I emphasized to Melissa, and I'm emphasizing to you now, if you're shifting out of codependence, that doesn't mean you have to go all the way into independence. That doesn't mean you can't keep people in your life that love you. It's natural to want to feel love from others. We just don't want our entire self-worth, all of our self-love, to be sourced outside of us. So as you're shifting out of codependent patterns, you still have that interdependence. You still have people that come in and fill your heart and fill your cup, but from the overflow, like you're filling it up completely, and then other people just add to it. So I just say that to you because I know for a lot of people that are moving out of relationship or moving out of codependent patterns, there's this fear of, oh my gosh, I've got to do it all on my own. You don't. You're just learning healthier ways to relate to yourself and consequently relate to others. I also brought Melissa's language to her attention. I noticed she said, it's hard, but a couple times. And I just wanted to point that out to her because the more we tell ourselves anything, it's hard, I can't do it, it's always like this, the more we reinforce that. So it's new, I'm learning, I'm willing. Those are all great ways to hold our language around something that we're doing that's new. Even the words I'm trying, you want to drop those because you either do or you don't. So if you're continuing to reinforce that something's hard or difficult or you can't do it, guess what? It's going to continue to be hard and you're going to reinforce that you can't do it. But you can shift it to I'm doing the best I can, I'm willing, my intention is. And you're going to move a lot faster and get a lot more leverage with your intention if you change your languaging about it. And finally, I kept bringing up the example of a partnership because Melissa has a lot of experience with being in a partnership. She knows how two people interact and engage. And that's a mirror for how we can be inside of ourselves. And so I put that picture in her mind of what if someone came to her and said, well, I love you, but it's hard. It's hard to commit. It's hard to work on this relationship. That wouldn't feel good. And that helped her see that doing that inside herself was like a giving up on herself and not feeling like she's fighting for herself. So think about that. Think about that as you're working on your inner partnership and your relationship with yourself. Are the ways you're treating yourself, is that how you'd want to be treated in a partnership? Is that how you'd want to show up in a healthy partnership? And the more you model that inside yourself and become that great partner to yourself, the more a healthy relationship and partnership and someone who's also willing to work on the relationship, the more likely that is to show up in your life. So I know Melissa is at a really exciting point. She even said she was excited. And I encourage her and you, if you're at a crossroads, if you're stepping into more interdependence out of codependence or out of a relationship, to yes, grieve the loss of it, but also to get really excited about this next chapter. Oftentimes when we lose a relationship, we forget that we gain a deeper relationship with ourselves. So get excited about what's ahead, and get excited about the healthy partnership that you can create inside of you. If you like this episode, please share it, and remember to subscribe to this channel. I also respond to comments here, so if you have any questions or feedback or aha moments that you want to share, comment below. And stay tuned for more episodes of the Over It and On With It Life Coaching Podcast.